My name is Sean Kelly and I'm a professional officer for the Society and College of Radiographers. The Society and College of Radiographers is the professional body for healthcare practitioners in the United Kingdom working predominantly in the fields of medical imaging and radiation therapy. We have a dual function as an organisation in that, as well as being a professional body, we also represent our members nationally and locally as a trade union. We are exclusively a professional body and trade union. We don't actually have a regulatory function. That's dealt with for our members by the Health Professions Council. We have over 20,000 members, of whom about 2,000 are student members. The majority of our members are clinical practitioners, and the majority of those work in the National Health Service. That said, we have a whole range of other types of member, and we do offer international membership as well.
My name is Alexandra Smith. I work for the AAT, that's Association of Accounting Technicians. My current role is CPD Compliance Coordinator. Within my role, I'm responsible for monitoring our members' compliance with our CPD policy and making sure that members receive advice and guidance in terms of how to comply with the policy. The AAT is, as I mentioned, is the Association of Accounting Technicians. We provide accounting technician qualification to 120,000 members all around the world. At the moment we have 50,000 full and fellow members, and the rest there are student members. The CPD policy is at the moment mandatory for only full and fellow members, and full and fellow members are the members that I deal with on a daily basis.
My name is Francis Nicholson. I am the Education Director at the Chartered Institute of Internal Auditors. The Chartered Institute of Internal Auditors is a body that caters for the internal auditor within the UK and Ireland, and we have about 8,300 members. We're also affiliated to a global body which is based in Florida but has coverage over 165 countries and has a total of 170,000 members. As the Education Director, I have quite a broad department. Principal focus, of course, is on education, is developing and supporting our professional qualifications, ensuring that the content is current and responds to the needs of individuals and to the profession as a whole. But wrapped around that, we have other related services that fall within my responsibility. That includes CPD, making sure that we have a robust policy that's really pertinent to the role and to our designations. I'm also responsible for ensuring that we provide technical guidance. And these things join together through what we've termed as a knowledge management strategy. These are all knowledge-based services that we provide, services and products that are linked together by having knowledge of the sector, of the needs of individuals and of the profession, and being able to respond in the right way to a whole range of diverse audiences.
The Society and College of Radiographers defines CPD as a range of activities undertaken to maintain and develop practice at the highest standards, and that done within an evolving and developing scope of practice. We take an obligatory approach to CPD in that we do require all of our members to undertake it, although we don't absolutely monitor that process totally. The approach to CPD is that the regulator actually enforces nationally approved CPD standards for all of the allied healthcare professions. So we tend to see them as wielding the stick. We offer the carrot of CPD leading to greater job satisfaction, better service delivery, and ultimately improved career prospects.
CPD, which is continuing professional development, is a lifelong learning. It's a process of maintaining existing skills and knowledge. It's also a process of developing and enhancing new skills and knowledge throughout member career. CPD is not only about courses, it's not only about structured learning, it's any activity that a member can gain a learning outcome from. So it can be anything from reading online, listening to podcasts, to on-the-job learning or job shadowing. CPD has many advantages, not only on a professional level. It can lead to career progression and things like that, but it can also be very satisfactory on a personal level and can lead to greater self-satisfaction.
We take a very broad definition of CPD. Our policy describes it as any new learning that can be applied to the professional role, and it's based upon outcomes rather than inputs or counting hours or credits. CPD is an obligatory requirement of our membership. It's an essential part of the Code of Ethics and of the international standards that individuals keep themselves up to date and make sure that they remain current in their skills and expertise.
I think one of the key challenges at the moment is trying to keep everything fairly positive and upbeat, given that our members, like professionals everywhere, are probably under pressures because of changes in government policy and also the general economic situation. And a particular area of challenge is therefore marketing with members, perhaps educational and professional policies that they may find a little less than comfortable sometimes, but we have to respond to external change. There are two areas that are particularly challenging about working with CPD. One which I think we've been able to manage quite successfully is how do you deliver CPD to 20,000 members with the minimum of resources, and how do you accredit CPD for each individual member when those are the kind of figures that you're dealing with. We found a very innovative solution to this. We do all of our CPD accreditation online, and we find that works very, very effectively. It maintains good standards, but it's actually extremely cost effective as well. One particular challenge is that we've tried in recent years, and I think fairly successfully, implemented a whole CPD infrastructure. We have an online portfolio, our journals, our conferences and events, our professional guidance documents, everything we do. We also offer CPD branding around that. We've developed a CPD brand. I use the online facility because anonymously I can extract from that all kinds of statistical data about our members' CPD activities. The biggest challenge I face at the moment is that we have around 35% of the members who could use the online system using it. We're fairly confident that the rest of them are doing CPD using different systems, and we don't have any serious issue with that. But obviously, the higher the proportion of the membership using our system, the more I can rely on the statistical data that we're drawing from it. So we really do aim to double that figure of 35% over the next 4 to 5 years.
I have contact with our members on a daily basis. These are usually our full and fellow members because for them our policy is mandatory. These are contacts on the phone or through emails and letters. Twice a year I select members on a random basis for CPD monitoring, and the contact usually comes when members kind of respond to our CPD monitoring requests, where they have further queries about the CPD policy, where they're not sure whether they're complying, whether they have any other questions connected with the CPD policy. I also am a main contact at the AAT for any other queries CPD related and CPD compliance related. There are many challenges that we face when it comes to CPD policy and CPD compliance. As I mentioned, we have output-based policy, so it is much more difficult to explain the main principles of an output-based policy to our membership. It's much easier with an input base. You just, say to members how many hours they need to undertake. With the output base, although it's more flexible and it gives members more space, and it's up to them how much CPD and in what format they do, it's actually more difficult to explain what they need to do and what is the CPD cycle and how the emphasis should be placed on the outcomes. When it comes to CPD monitoring, the challenge is to chase members and for their response to CPD monitoring request. Because the policy is mandatory, they need to send us their CPD records and CPD information. So we spend a lot of time, and we always kind of brainstorm, try to figure out how in the best way to communicate the policy to members, so they then respond quicker. The other challenge is also that members have a lot of preconceptions about the CPD policy. What is CPD? Why is it important? A lot of them think CPD is only about courses, CPD is expensive, CPD is time-consuming. So it's a challenge to kind of, change their way of thinking about CPD. And I guess the other challenge is also about the word CPD. A lot of members have a negative connotation with the word CPD. They think it's a memberships organization, thing like a tick box thing to do, rather than thinking that it's for their benefit. But we have a lot of services online and offline that explain to members our policy, that provides them with a lot of products which makes it easier for members to record their CPD, to assess their learning needs. We recognize that members have different learning styles, so we're trying to come up with different products that will meet all the members' needs.
The Institute has always had a requirement on members, because it's written into the Code of Ethics, that they should maintain their competency. But it was only recently that we decided to formalise those requirements and give more guidance to them as to what was expected. So 3 years ago we introduced our policy, which is known as Building Self-Assurance, and that gives for the first time specific requirements on members and our expectations of them. And part of that has been to introduce a sampling process on an annual basis. Members are expected to declare that they are current in their CPD, and we select about 2% of qualified members, and we look for evidence that they have been maintaining their CPD on a planned basis, and they've been reflecting on its effectiveness, its impact upon their professional role, and they are expected to provide those records as and when they are sampled. It's fair to say that members do struggle a little bit with the outcomes model. Perhaps they are more familiar from other bodies and other experience of counting hours. Perhaps it's easier, maybe particularly for the internal auditor's psychology, to be able to measure something quite tangible, such as the amount of time spent engaged in a particular activity. So it takes a little bit more explaining to do to bring them around to the idea that what we're trying to encourage is for them to look at the impact, the relevance of what they're doing, and how it's going to change their performance as a professional. A couple of challenges that relate to CPD. One, it can be quite time-consuming to follow up on members' inquiries and queries when they are not sure what's expected of them, referring them to the right information, clarifying for them what our policy requires of them. And also, in the sampling process, making sure that those who have been selected do submit their records within the time that we require. Quite often they require further encouragement and guidance. Quite often they admit that they haven't been keeping records and they aren't ready, and so we're quite flexible, but that adds further pressures upon the administration of the process. The second challenge to a CPD policy, I think, is that members might feel that it's a bit of an interference or an imposition, that they are perfectly capable of looking after themselves. Why should a professional body try to dictate to them and affect what they do? We make it very clear that it's inherent within our policy. They are central to deciding for themselves. We are only there to provide encouragement, information, perhaps a little bit of a reward for their CPD. I think once we've explained that they're more receptive to the way we try and do things.